Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 67 of Rocket Lab Weekly. Today we have Broke Boy, also known as Matt Money, with us, and Mr. Scott from the 51st state of the United States of America. Hello, guys.
Always a good day. Thanks for having us.
So thanks for coming. How is everybody doing?
I mean, pretty good, yeah. It's been there's no shortage of entertaining news so far this year, including what you said, the 51st state stuff. So it's honestly, I just want a tame year one of these years. Like I want 2019 back again.
I was actually thinking about this, that, the 2010s were like such a golden age. Like it was peaceful. The markets were just going up. And it's like somehow you didn't know it when you were living in it,
Mm-hmm.
And since we got into the 2020s, it was like COVID, inflation, wars, and then, now craziness. So I have no horses in this race, but I'm just curious, like, is it that bad in Canada? And what do the people in Canada like think about this?
I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but like, it's one of those things where if you talk about it, like people have this assumption that it's like, oh, he can't afford a home or whatever. But like what I mean is I talk to a few family members, and if they're over the age of like 50, 60, it seems like they just can't get what I'm trying to communicate. But it's like, if you run the numbers, it's like the next generation just seems like they won't be able to ever like afford a home or maybe even retire the current rate that things are going. And it's frustrating. Like the response to that is always like, well, you just need to do what we did and work harder. And it's like, it's just not the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't know. It's, I don't know, an odd situation, I guess. It's not like third world by any means, but it is not as affordable as it used to be, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I totally get like what you're saying, because like Europe used to be a very cool place. Like in the year 2000, when I was growing up, it was considered like, if you live somewhere like in Germany or Sweden, or like you have really made it. And then it feels like the EU like completely plateaued out, and there has been no innovation since then, except for this foldable Coke, what is it, this cork that doesn't fall off. That's like the innovation of the century. And we don't have any AI companies, but we already regulated AI. We've already done this, So I really get what you mean, because it feels like, and I even watched the video on it. You can't even say that it's like that we are falling behind. It's more like the US is really, really pulling ahead, and they are doing something that is obviously good. Matt, what are you guys doing that is so crazy?
Good question. I have no idea. These are questions we need answers to that I don't have. But yeah, there's that.
Curtis gave a super chat for US passport processing fee. Welcome.
Thank you, Curtis.
some good humor this week. Well, all right. So I think we okay, portfolio wise. So it looks like, let's also take this before we start the Rocket Lab news. So it feels like the long-awaited dip is here, and Palantir is down 20%. Rocket Lab is only down 10%, which is actually surprisingly strong in the current market. So how are you guys' portfolios holding up? And are you afraid asking for daddy to hug you, or what are you proactively doing in this market?
Do you want to start, Matt?
We're in a dip.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, I'm not hurting too bad. Like, kind of chilling, really.
Yeah, I'm only down like 4.5%. That's not a dip to me.
Isn't that like a house for a normal person?
It's a down payment for a house. Yeah, for a pretty nice house too. I mean, it is what it is, right? I think since October 2023, we've been on a pretty expansive run. And then I guess for the second half of 24, a lot of companies that shouldn't even be going up have been going up. And so I think it's nice to see a little bit of relaxation in the markets, let people think a little bit, get some butthole puckering, as I was saying on a previous video that I was talking about, and allow people to truly understand, am I investing in this company just because it's going up, or am I investing in this company because I'm truly bullish about the underlying things that they're doing and the underlying fundamentals of the organization? And so I'm hoping it gives people some food for thought to understand whether or not they're actually investing in it for the right reasons. So anyway, yeah, it'll be nice. I haven't seen anything get to an extremely value stricken level as of yet. So if this is a dip, I hope it keeps dipping.
All right. I'm with you. It feels like everything has been quite expensive, and I think it's healthy to get a dip. Cool. Let's start the space news and Rocket Lab news. There's a lot happening lot has happened this week. So first of all, we finally got the long-awaited Mars return sample update, and the update was that there was no update. And basically, NASA chose like two versions. One of them is a sky crane version, and the other one is a heavy lifter like the New Glenn or the Starship. And none of these, I don't know if you guys noticed, was a Rocket Lab option. And funny enough, it wasn't like they were even more expensive than the Rocket Lab proposals. So Rocket Lab started tweeting that yeah, you guys can wait another year, or Rocket Lab can get going already right now, and their plan is only $4 billion, and they would be done already in 2031. And I saw that Peter Beck was also like writing to NASA. So what do you guys think about, do we still have a chance? What's happening with this Mars sample return mission? Matt, I think you should go ahead on this one.
I'll be honest, I was super excited. So a lot of people were asking if I was going to live stream it. I wish I could have on Tuesday, but unfortunately I was in the office and was just at my desk. I just got done a phone call, and I was like super excited and anxious to get on. And I'm with Erwin. Like, what I heard in the actual call, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. My thought process is that we were going to use private space technology and private space companies to really try to excel some of these contracts, really get it moving. But at the same time, we're using the old contracts and the old technology from Sky Crane and stuff like that. I know it's been used before, but you have some great opportunities to really try to innovate and focus on, new ideas and bring them into fruition. So to kind of basically hear the meme that you showed, like the announcement is there is no announcement, was like, I don't know. I just kind of like initially heard that he was basically like, we'll wait another year to make a final decision, but these are the two options that we're going with right now. Yada, yada, yada. I was sitting there like, typical bureaucracy sort of issues, right? That I just was expecting out of NASA. Like, I was hoping and hopeful that we would hear some real push and some real drive towards getting back to getting this done as quickly as possible. And I kind of feel like they took the middle route, which is kind of sitting back in their seats and hoping that something magical sort of just like falls into their desk without them actually having to do anything. So that's my thought. But Curtis, thank you for the 5 gifted, my man. I'm much appreciated on that. They always nice to meet new people that are part of the membership group.
Yeah, thank you so much, Curtis. So Scott, what is your opinion?
Like, just echoing what Matt said, just kind of seems like they're just kicking the can down the road, that they really haven't put a whole lot of thought into it. And I mean, if we're like, because what was said, it was like between 2035 and 2039 is now the window if you're not going with Rocket Lab. And at that rate, I'm like, just not like cancel the program, but I'm like, if we're going to be sending manned missions to Mars within that like same time frame, give or take, cut all the robotics out of it, just have a human pick them up, bring them back. And I think to like kind of bring it back to Rocket Lab, it's like, if I can't help but feel like this is one of those events that's going to put some fire under Rocket Lab's butts, like and not like they have to, you know, do better or anything, but I can't help but feel like it's going to be like, you know what, fuck it, we'll do it ourselves. Or like, you know, kind of like step up for the Venus mission, or like kind of really like put their foot down and be like, if you're not going to do it, we're going to do it. Watch.
Do you think that they would? I mean, because like the Mars mission, like it would cost a lot of money, right? And then do you think that they would have that kind of,
like maybe not so much for Mars, but I think that like they've got so much going with the Venus mission already, including like the I'm forgetting the name of the piece, but it's coming from NASA, and I can't help but feel like that's going to be like more and more is going to be added, kind of like almost like a rideshare mission to Venus, where kind of a lot of the R&D is going to be awarded to Rocket Lab, and that Venus mission is going to become less and less expensive. And kind of with that, it's going to be like, all right, you know, you want a company that can go interplanetary? Well, now we've proven that we can. And like, honestly, maybe even before, you know, they might end up going to Venus before SpaceX ends up going to Mars at this rate, if Rocket Lab does hit that 2026 window. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm so curious. In our next interview, I definitely want to ask Sir Peter Beck like what he thinks the chances are of us getting it, because I actually fully agree with you. If the timeline is 2035 and 2039, when there is anyway starships going there with humans, and Elon is trying to get back the starships, it's like he's already anyways paying for the starships to come home. You just, I don't know, any money you pay him, like, you know, Elon, can we pay you like 100 million, and then you slap these on, and it's an enormous saving for NASA, right? If they're anyways there. So but yeah, we're armchair NASAing here. It's easy for us to say, but yeah, I agree with you on this. Cool. We go to the next news, and that is that Rocket Lab has hit a big milestone as a prime contractor for the SDA, where they're building 18 satellites, and they basically passed the preliminary design review. And all I can see on this when I read this is when they pass big milestones, they can book a lot of you know, income in their P&L, and they can ask for payments from the government. Scott, you're an expert on this. I have no idea monetarily what this could mean. I just know that it's good for our quarter.
I'm actually okay. Here it is. I was actually talking with Jacob from the Rocket Lab community as well. Jacob Keaton, at Jacob Keaton 20. You guys should give him a follow. He's like fantastic, and he's honestly just as much a numbers guy as I am. So he's been looking into the whole SDA like cash flow exchange, if you will, on the what's it called, the FPDS site, I think it's called. And what he's seeing is that there's $138 million action obligation for the SDA contract, but I don't think that necessarily means that that is what's going to be recognized by Rocket Lab. It's more or less kind of goes into Rocket Lab's like back end, if you will, to be recognized at a later date. But it does give us a bit of an idea of like how much of that money is kind of ready to be recognized by Rocket Lab. So I think the most recent update that we have in terms of what has been recognized is during the Q2 interview, Adam mentioned that it was, I think he said mid to high single digit millions for the SDA contract. So I don't think it would be very much of this $138 million that has been transferred. But I mean, it's kind of worth mentioning, and hopefully we get to ask Adam or Peter about this on the upcoming calls in terms of like how much has been recognized through the second half of the year.
So just so I understand it correctly, what you're saying is the SDA paid Rocket Lab 138 million, but Rocket Lab is not allowed to recognize it in their bookkeeping yet. So the money is basically just sitting on their bank account, and they're able to recognize like 10, 15 million of it.
That's how I understand it, and I don't think it's so much like they can't recognize it, but I think it's kind of like kind of as a way to smooth out space systems. They don't just like boom, this quarter is going to be huge, and then the next one's nothing. They kind of like build it over time to kind of give like a slow arc to the overall program to make, to smooth out the quarterly revenue.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's amazing to get 138 million prepayment from a customer, and that you get 5% yearly on sitting on your bank account. That's a pretty good payment. All right, Matt, any comments on this one or?
No, just excited to see it continues to kind of move forward. Yeah, this looks exciting. I mean, not many people get to be prime contractors specifically for something this big. So it'll be nice to see how this proliferates, not just specifically for this particular contract, but going forward as well, because this obviously is a kind of pivot point for the organization in terms of their seniority within the space industry. So it'll be cool to see what contracts kind of waterfall off of this.
Yeah. Awesome. So now we go to the next news, which I was really excited for, and I was thinking this is more in Matt's alley because you're very, very bullish on Haste. And so basically, it wasn't Rocket Lab this time that got a major contract. It was Kratos. I don't know if I'm butchering the name. And they were the prime on this one, and they were awarded $1.45 billion as part of the MACH-TB 2.0 program. And all the Haste launches that we have sold so far, except for one, which was for a commercial undisclosed customer, I think, was part of the MACH-TB 1.0, so like the first version of that program. So this 1.45 billion is version 2 of the program. And if you read the fine print here, it says that they want to increase the cadence here of the testing and launching of the hypersonic tests. And all I can see here is that there's going to be way more Haste launches, but because this is not a Rocket Lab announcement, this is a Kratos announcement, it's not clear how many Haste we are getting and when we're getting it. So Matt, when you read this, what did you think? What is your estimation? Because I mean, 1.45 billion and Haste launches, 10 million a pop. I don't think that all of this, for sure, not all of this money is going into Haste, but I mean, this could be easily 20 launches, 30 launches, and they have a lot of money left over still for the equipment that they're testing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a developing space with respect to Haste, which for folks that aren't necessarily familiar, let me take a step back. So Haste is a simplified electron that is going to be suborbital. It's not going into kind of the outer space or putting into low Earth orbit or anything like that. So it's interesting to see this contract kind of come through. I don't know how much I can kind of really speculate on this. I think that for now, it's best to probably wait until we see a little bit of some of these contracts and the I guess follow on and in terms of the backlog, right? So I think this could be one of those big things that Adam was talking about with respect to having $1 billion worth of backlog entering, over the last after last earnings call. He was talking about how there's going to be over $1 billion of backlog happening within the next 6 months or so. And so this could feed into that. I don't know how much of that 1.45 billion is actually to come towards Rocket Lab, but obviously it's a pivotal point of the program. Without the Haste rocket, you're not going to be able to get things up into space and be able to test things. And so I'm also kind of curious as to if this is specifically only going to be flying things out of Virginia, or because it's a national defense company, if it's going to be able to fly things out of other areas. We know that there's silos, missile silos, etc., throughout the country, and I don't think this is going to be used as a missile per se, but it could be used as some sort of like Iron Dome sort of prevention sort of thing where they launch several rockets up into space or try to intercept ICBMs or something of the like, and we have those throughout the entirety of the country. And so how this is going to be used, I don't know, but I think it's just an increasing awareness that Haste is a lot of room still left to go. And this is only one contract out of many that I expect throughout 2025. It'll be interesting to see how it develops from here.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to point out here that it says that the contract is to continue the Mach 2B under task area 1. And like I tried to Google what task area 1 is, like if it's a special military base or something, and I didn't get anything. So I guess it's like the place where they have been testing it, like that's task area 1, which is Virginia, and then they just continue there. And another one is that it says in this announcement which companies are involved. And I looked into these companies. Obviously, none of them are rocket launchers or any launch company except for the Strato launch. And what I have found is they do launch like via an airplane, sort of like how Virgin Orbit was doing it. So I guess that the launches are going to be divided between Rocket Lab and this company, just to further make it difficult for us to guess how much of this money is going to Rocket Lab. But Scott, what did you think when you saw this?
I mean, it's good news, but like kind of with anything from the DoD, it's a bit of a black box. So in terms of like what Mach TB 1.0 was, it seems like there's going to be something between 25 to 40 launches under 1.0. And if they're expecting to do more than 1.0 in 2.0, I guess we can expect more than the 25 to 40 launches. Now,
just one sec. Yeah. You mean Haste launches, or do you mean like total?
No, like, and that's where it gets kind of weird, is because the term launch in this context is like, Strato launches is a big one, where it's like, for anyone unfamiliar with what Stratolaunch does, it's kind of like what Virgin Orbit did, where they have like a very large plane, brings it up, and then shoots it forward. But as far as like how many this will translate to Rocket Lab, I mean, 1.0 is like, I think 6 to 8, we'll call it Haste launches. So all in all, we can expect, maybe a 50% increase for that, I suppose, something like that. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 10 launches out of this, but like I said, it's a bit hard to get any clarity on, given the discrete nature of the DoD.
But if you think about it, it's still crazy, because that's technically like a 50% increase would be like 10 launches for Rocket Lab, or like 10 to 12. And that's a big freaking sale, right? And then it somehow like completely flew under the radar. But yeah, we see if Peter and Adam can specify it a bit more.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right. I just want to iterate. I think sometimes people take some of my words out of context when it comes to when I talk about Haste, and they think I'm thinking that Haste is some sort of intercontinental ballisticness or anything like that. I don't think that. I don't think that Haste is ever going to be used as some sort of missile for offensive warfare or anything of the like. I only view it as something that could be used for rapid communications in remote areas. This is my interpretation as well. And I also think that it could be used for missile defense. So kind of being used as an ability to intercept other missiles that could be being used for offensive warfare. I only view Haste as a defense mechanism at the moment, and I have no other reason to believe that it would be used for some sort of offensive test bed, right? So I just want people to hear that. I've had many people call me out in the past when I'm talking about Haste, thinking that I think it's some sort of rocket that's going to be used in warfare. I do not think that, and so I just want people to hear me, and I want to be concrete about that.
Yeah.
And Vince, you brought up Dave G's comment there. Firefly, their alpha, they've like converted, if you will, into a suborbital launcher as well.
The beta.
Is it? I'm pretty sure it's alpha.
No, I was kidding.
Oh.
I was kidding.
Okay, but they used to call their medium launch used to be called beta. That's right.
Okay.
But I mean, they got a new Firefly. They got a new CEO recently, and I think it was, I don't know, we'll call it mid-December. There's an interview, and they're talking about 50 alpha launches in their backlog currently. And I don't know if this includes any of these, any of this Mach TB 2.0, but like they seem to have their hands more than full with like what they're averaging, like I guess 1.25 launches per year right now. And I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, like they're expecting more next year. But I mean, it seems like every time, if you rewound 1 year, it'd be like, oh, but next year it's going to be busy. Like this year they're supposed to do like 5 launches, and they did like, I think 1, maybe 2. No, I think last year was 2. This year was 1 launch through the whole year, and they're saying they're going to do like I think between 5 and 7. And they're saying the same thing for 2025, but it's like 50 launches in your backlog. I don't know where they're going to fit anything else in with Kratos. So, fingers crossed. Like I wish them the best, but
and it's super weird that in the company announcement, Firefly is not with as the partners. That's super weird. And I also saw it. What Dave is saying, that they did tweet that they are partners of this program, but they're not on the press announcement. So definitely interesting. Just want to shout out to Curtis. He gifted 5 memberships also to my channel. Please make sure, guys, that you pick it up. And thank you, Curtis, for supporting the channel. Cool. All right. So we go to the next news, which is also like this week has been super busy for Rocket Lab. So it looks like a similar cycle. Neutron was selected by NASA VADR, which stands for Venture. Oh, I looked it up. It's something like Venture Class Acquisition, Direct Launch, and Rideshare, something like this. And it's basically the NASA's sort of like when they invest into up and coming companies, and they have less requirements, and they give lower risk missions to these companies. And if you guys remember, the Tropics mission was part of this sort of venture arm of NASA, and the pre-fire missions were also part of this. And this is a $300 million program. And I must say, at first when I was reading it, I thought that they were awarded a 300 million Neutron contract, and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. That's like 6 launches with a little bit of discounts. And then I was like, it's through to 2027, and I'm like, how are they going to do 6 launches until 2027? But when I read more about this, it seems like out of the 300 million that NASA has, 150 million has already been assigned to different vehicles and different missions. So there's 150 million left. And the fact that Neutron is chosen, it just means that they are one of the contenders. It doesn't even mean that we have a guaranteed launch. Although the other companies that are in here, they're not as close to launching as Rocket Lab. And you remember what happened to the Tropics mission. It was given to Astra, and then they effed it up, and then it ended back with Rocket Lab. So we'll go with Matt first. What was your reactions, and what do you think this means?
Exciting. I think the thing that's more exciting to me is the potential for the what is it, lane 1 or lane 2 opportunity later, going to be given later this year, which is potentially a bigger contract. But excited to see that Neutron's getting more love and more potential for launches. And I think it's going to solidify, I think, people, having hateful comments with respect to you don't need a Neutron, that Falcon 9's got enough business as it is. If anybody needs anything, they'll just go through the Falcon 9. And it just goes to show you that there is, market for people to want to move into their own dedicated sort of launching and their own, I guess, avenues beyond SpaceX. And it's not to say that SpaceX is awful. It's just quality through choice, right? If you only use one contractor to be able to launch or anything like that, there's some sort of monopoly. What's the incentive for that monopoly to continue to make things cheaper, more efficient, better? And we've seen what happens when sometimes monopolies get too big. They just end up sitting on their laurels and not necessarily focusing on efficiency and innovating, right? They're making too much money. They think they won, and to me, I think this is valuable to kind of continue to push the space industry forward. So that's kind of my initial thoughts about this, and it's nice to see the second tranche of contracts come through for Neutron.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Dave,
Scott.
I'm sorry, Scott.
I'm thinking of Dave too. I'm trying to. He should come on the show if he's able to.
I'm always thinking about Dave.
Yeah, he's
Guilty.
out. He's out spending his portfolio. He's looking for a house.
Smart
In,
man.
in the just when you said it looks like Canadians can't afford houses, Dave is like out there trying to buy one.
We can't all be Dave G though.
Amen.
So
in terms of the contract though, oh, I can't remember what I was going to say. I guess I'm just curious, like what's left, because we had Astro with the first Tropics mission in mid 2022, and that didn't go well, and so it was given to Rocket Lab. So they had the 2 Tropics missions. Rocket Lab did. Rocket Lab also had the 2 pre-fire missions. There's another $20 million that went towards the launch for Escapade. There's 10 different 6U sats from, most of them are SpaceX, but another one was like SEOPS, and Phantom Space is another. And then Firefly has another launch in there as well for the North, I can't remember what it stands for, NOAA. It's the Quick Sounder mission. So if you kind of add all those things together, you're probably looking at like maybe $150 million remaining for the pool. And that's going to be split amongst, I think there's like 13 entrants for that. So as far as like how much actually ends up going to Rocket Lab, I mean, that's like three Neutrons max, but like, I'll kind of take a counterpoint to this, because I know like we're kind of like sitting your fingers crossed with it, but like, I almost wonder if Rocket Lab would even kind of like only take one intentionally, in the way that they could. I mean, there's so many different customers that are going to be required, that are going to be requiring medium launch, that it's almost like you don't like, kind of like what we're talking about with Firefly. They've got so much of this like kind of backlog with low margins, like what we'll call it, right? Because they were signing contracts. I mean, you see it with Rocket Lab. What Rocket Lab was signing like 5 years ago was like 6.5 million, maybe. I think even less actually. And now it's like, it's not uncommon to see Rocket Lab signing for like 8 million per launch. So it's almost like to Rocket Lab's detriment to just be like, yeah, give us all the contracts, when, you know, if there's 2 competitors that are like, you know, I need something to space in 2026, 2027, Rocket Lab would be like, all right, well, we have 1 lift available and it's going to be 50 million. So if you want it that bad, it's going to be 52. And the other guy would say, well, 55, and it's can escalate from there. And I mean, we're seeing that with Electron to the point where, I mean, we're seeing Electron, like standard Electron missions for like up to 15 million. And I don't think the Neutron's going to be any different. It's like we have the lift capacity available. No sense tying our hands. And if you guys really want it, pay for it. So yeah, bit of a contrarian take, but like, I don't think Rocket Lab, I don't know if they need like every single launch that comes to them.
I was actually thinking exactly about what you said, because keep in mind that Rocket Lab doesn't have endless cadence yet. Like we're actually we're going to have 1 launch, hopefully, knock on wood, in 2025, 2 in 2026, and you know, maybe I don't know how many, like 4 or 5 in 2027. And if you have like this NASA contract is a finite, you know, 1 customer contract. And if you book your flight up and then you're not able to launch for a customer that, if they're happy, it could lead to like a constellation service or constellation deployment, then you're not making a savvy business decision, because you're not prioritizing the right customer. So obviously, once the cadence is up, it's a different story. But I do believe that they need to be very selective now on who they take as a customer.
I like that idea, Scott. I mean, like somebody in here in the chat's asking about, well, why are they going to try to launch it and just like put it into the ocean? And it's like they still have yet to demonstrate 1, lift, right? Because obviously they haven't had their first launch, and 2, they haven't demonstrated reusability. And so I anticipate once you get that, I feel like a lot of customers are going to be running for the desks to sign up. And so I agree with you. It's almost a prudent strategy to only sign up a few launches, because otherwise you're going to plan out all the way to like 2028, you know, because like you said, there's so few launches here at the moment, you know, and the hope is you get closer to 50 launches by the time you get to 2030, but you never know what ends up happening. So like you said, you start signing up too many and you're going to start having to wait till 2027 for some of these things. And maybe somebody needs an emergency launch, in 2026 or 27. And if you start signing up too many people, like you said, you sign it up for 55 million when you could have sold it for 70 or 75. So interesting thought that I wasn't really thinking of.
Yeah.
So,
do you guys know the only time when it would make sense to launch the NASA payload?
For Escapade, you mean?
No. Like this award that we're looking at on the screen, right? It would be the first launch, right? Because they anyways don't have a customer for that. And if NASA has a low risk mission that they can afford to waste, it would be pretty cool if Rocket Lab would get like a 20-30 million for the first launch and have a payload on it.
It's a good point. Yeah.
So maybe we see that.
Yeah, and I want I think this one, they're spending $300 million to get the Neutron. I think they're spending $300 million for a lot of the R&D associated with Neutron. I think Neutron itself will probably cost 25 or 30 million to build, if that makes sense. And I'm hoping that eventually the costs come down associated with that, just because that eventually will be reusable. So you'll be able to depreciate some of those launches over time. And I think the hope is that each hull will be able to be launched, or at least the engines I know will be able to be launched up to 10 times, I think is what they're initially thought to be used for. So if you think about it in retrospect, let's just say we're in 2030, hopefully some of these rockets that they make might cost $25-30 million to make, but it really would only be worth $2.5 to $3 million per launch. And then the rest of that would be margin that they could keep due to the fact that obviously they're being able to reuse that rocket over so many different launches. So it's $300 million to develop the rocket, but they're not just going to like shove it into the ocean just for shits and giggles. I mean, the thought process would be is that they hover over the ocean and try to understand how easy it is for them to try to land the vehicle, or is it going to splash down going 200 miles an hour into the ocean, which obviously would mean they probably couldn't land it on land either, or a barge, because it would just go right through the barge. So they had to start somewhere, and I think softly hovering it above the ocean would be the most prudent case, kind of what Starship number 2 did. And then did they land Starship 3, or was it Starship 4 the one that landed?
I'm pretty sure it was 4.
Yeah, I don't remember what happened with Starship.
Maybe even 5.
Maybe in 5, yeah.
The one that was tower catched.
Yeah.
Caught.
Yeah, because number 6 was not caught. They knew right away they had an issue with the arms or something. They knew right when it took off.
Okay. But yeah, anyway, so I don't view it as a $300 million loss. I view it as a sacrifice to the greater space gods to try to understand how easy it can be to land the vehicle, and hopefully they'll be able to get a soft splashdown, which would make it worthwhile to try to land on a barge or on land going forward. But it's important to know because there's a lot of key infrastructure around Wallops, Virginia. So, you can't have something, coming in back at you at the home pad going 400 miles an hour and just absolutely destroy all the work and time that it took to build all that concrete and launch pad area, plus the water towers, etc. I mean, there's just a lot of infrastructure. So to be able to see what a launch might be, it might feel like, oh, well, we can't have the original booster back. I see that point, but at the same time, I think it's a novel sacrifice or noble sacrifice to be able to see if you can re-land in a safer way.
All right. So we continue still on the Neutron track. Rocket Lab has updated their website and they show new milestones. This is the website, and you can see they added stage 2 qualification, first flight mechanism test program, engine qualification, and stage 1 qualification. Launch complex 3 construction complete. regulatory approval for launch, and stage 2. Yeah, I just wanted to read the ones that are yellow, because I think the yellow means that they are doing those like in present time. The green ones, I guess, is the one that is done, and the ones that are hollow are the ones that have not even started yet. And here they show a nice picture of how they're putting the stage 2 into stage 1. Pretty interesting. So what do you guys think about the Neutron timeline? Still as confident as before?
Kind of so-so on it. I mean, yeah, I'm no rocket engineer, obviously, but someone much smarter than me was saying that based on what is displayed here, it's a little bit bearish in terms of hitting that mid-2025 launch. So not too much else to add, but like I don't know. It'll happen when it happens, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the stage 2 qualification, now this is Vince, the armchair rocket scientist. So stage 2 qualification is basically like the Archimedes engine slapped on this big tank, because their stage is insanely simple. I would think that that's an easy one. The flight mechanism test program is like moving the flaps, you know, like is the hippo fairing opening. Maybe Peter Beck is watching this and he's laughing about how simple I think this is. This engine qualification, I have a feeling that this is like euphemism for still hot fire testing the engines. Because they did do the hot fire test, but I don't know, like maybe they're not fully happy yet with the engines and making them, or maybe it's the new, like, because each engine needs to go through this, right? So maybe it's like they have tested 3 engines and they're waiting for like 6 more to be done and tested. So that one I also feel like, yeah, that can take however long. Stage 1 qualification, I guess, should be simple, and the construction side being done, that's not so simple, but it looks like they're doing well. And the regulatory approval, that's also a big question mark, but there's a new administration. The hopes are up.
It's a lot. It'll be a lot in rapid succession. I'm still cautiously optimistic, but I'll wait for fiscal year 24 earnings to really cast any big judgments. I anticipate we'll hear something, right? Because I mean, it would be T-minus 4 or 5 months by the time we actually hear from them in February, I anticipate. So fingers crossed. I mean, I don't think it's something that's impossible to get done, but it is a lot to get done. But I still feel like I feel like Launch Complex 3 piece has been moving along extremely well, and I feel like that's probably nearing completion. But all the other qualifications for stage 1, Archimedes, etc., it seems like a lot to get done within 4 to 5 months. But I'm cautiously optimistic because they've already done a lot of the pressure testing and all that. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, you guys. And just want to also mention this. This is another post by Dave G. Just to make sure to give credit. And this is the average payload mass on a Falcon 9 to LEO missions that excludes their rideshare and classified missions. And you can see when they launch Starlink, then they basically pack the vehicle to the gills, and because I think it can do 17,000 kilograms, and they basically pack it max. But when it's not Starlink, the average mass that they're carrying is 3,370 kilograms, which is almost nothing compared to what the Falcon 9 can do. And this is when it becomes very interesting that people are always onto this. Yeah, but SpaceX is cheaper by the kilogram. Yeah, but if you're launching something that is 3,370 kilograms, you're still paying for the full freaking rocket. So in that case, the Neutron is a much better option for you than the Falcon 9 because there's no wait time and it's cheaper. So any comments you guys have on this? And if in hindsight it was really smart that Peter Beck opted for this and didn't go like New Glenn and went like up to 26,000 kilograms.
Yeah, 100%. And I hope Dave doesn't mind me saying, but Peter Beck liked this post. So I think it's, of course he's going to like.
Why would he like? Doesn't it say on the post that, or it's a secret, the likes, or?
Well, I think you can only see them yourself. But Dave posted in his Discord that he was like a snapshot that Peter Beck liked this. I was like, that's cool. So it's kind of a testament of like everyone who's saying that like, satellites are only getting bigger and you need more and more lift. It's like, well, the Falcon 9 doesn't even need it apparently. So.
It's pretty crazy. Interesting. Cool. That was all the Rocket Lab, but this week there was super many space news, which I think is still worth covering. And after that, Scotto was missing. Last episode we did a predictions for 2025, which was different questions, and I want to get Scott's answer so that when we come to the end of this year, we can see how well we have predicted certain things about Rocket Lab. So, but we take that in the very end. Now, the next news is that Intuitive Machines, a US startup that has almost landed on the moon last year, is ready for a second attempt. And they are basically kickstarting the lunar economy. I don't know if you guys are interested in Lunar or looking at investing in them, and I really don't follow this company. I just thought that this news was worth sharing.
Matt, maybe you want to take this one. I don't really know too much about them.
For sure, yeah. I mean, when they took a big dip earlier, not earlier, but late last year, I thought about knowing that there was going to be a second launch. There was some chatter amongst some of us in the community about taking a short-term swing position, knowing that SpaceX is going to launch this one here in the next coming months, and they'll attempt a second moon landing launch. But I haven't really taken that position. I was waiting for the perfect time, and then I got caught up with something else. But good for them. I mean, I think it's great. I think that, to be fair, though, I think the thing that continues to roll around in my head, even though people may or may not like my thought, is, I think even with this, these guys are obviously specializing in the lunar lander space, and I think they're also trying to come up with like some sort of vehicle that they can send up as well, but not necessarily a rocket per se, but like a second stage sort of vehicle that can carry humans. I don't know exactly what they were working on, but to me, I think without having that initial key to space, which is launch, I think it's going to be very challenged for a lot of companies to continue to survive. They'll probably do well between now and 2030, but eventually will be challenged by the fact that they're competing against people that are going to be having to pay $50 to $100 million to get into space, versus say a Neutron, at scale, once it's fully reusable, comparable to a Falcon 9, it's going to cost only a couple $1 million per launch. And so the margins on that are going to be extreme, and it's going to be much easier for, say, somebody like a Rocket Lab to create a lunar lander kind of vehicle in the future. Although, not to say, Rocket Lab is also involved in Firefly's Blue Ghost, and so, with the software side. So, Rocket Lab has a key in a lot of these different things and projects that are going on. But excited to see this. I'm going to be watching, and it's bullish for space. It's bullish for space technology, and I was really excited to see the first one go off as well. But I just want to iterate my position on why I'm not taking a firm holding within Intuitive Machines. If anything, it would have been a speculative options trade.
And to kind of build on that too, Matt, Firefly's Blue Ghost, that's their lunar lander, is launching in like 4 days. So if that does really well, maybe that's a little bit, not bearish for Intuitive Machines, but it's probably worth watching if you're into the whole lunar lander situation.
And guess who wrote the software for the Firefly's lunar lander.
Peter Beck himself.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
single-handedly.
Yeah, I don't know if it was Peter. I suspect not, but definitely our Rocket Lab did that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, going back to the space news, as you said, I didn't even have Firefly with us or for this program, but what I did have was New Glenn, which was already supposed to have launched, but there was some bad weather. Our favorite space reporter Eric Berger is flying there. It's actually tonight at 1 a.m. It's 7 a.m. for me, like tomorrow morning. I guess none of us will be live streaming it. I don't even know if they have a live stream for this. Here's a little cool thing. New Glenn's fairing has thousands of Blue Origin employees' signature on it, a tribute to the hard work and passion for missions we all have here at Blue. There you can see the thousands of signatures, and they are going for landing this thing on the first try on a sea barge. So what are the chances, you guys, that they are going to do this?
I really have no idea. I mean, I just hope they get to orbit. That's all I'll really say. I wish them well. It's going to be interesting. I mean, they do have like the non-orbit reaching launches under their belt, but I mean, this will be the first time they've reached orbit, and to like say that they're going to land on a barge, like that's, I don't know, that's ballsy. But
oh wow, Francisco is also going to watch it. He's heading to the Cape right now. Wow, Francisco, you have to keep us updated on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So yeah, they did state that it's being pushed another day, so it won't be this morning. Or tomorrow morning. It'll be Monday morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but because it was pushed one day to today, so they pushed another day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Francisco, you need to turn back one more day. Cool. Now we go to. I'm sure you guys have seen that there is fires in LA. Very devastating, very bad. And I was just amazed that, again, the only way to communicate through this catastrophe was via Starlink, and they even activated cell phone coverage with T-Mobile. And I just thought that this was worth mentioning because it's insane how valuable this space service is becoming. Yeah, we mentioned it. We move on. The next one is a very interesting one, relativity space. There was an article that one of their key investors have written down their share of relativity space, I think by like 90% or 95%. And then there was talks that there is a secret investor that is floating relativity, and then there's talks about this guy investing into relativity, but it wasn't disclosed who this guy was. And now it seems like that it's Google's Eric Schmidt, net worth of about $26 billion, so he can easily float this company for quite some time. So what are your guys' prediction? Is this company bankrupt, or do they get saved by this billionaire? And is that bullish or bearish for us?
I don't know. Do you want to take this one, Matt?
Sure. I don't really have an opinion. I haven't really seen much out of relativity in quite some time. I think competition is always good for the space, but I don't know. I've heard a lot of turmoil at the leadership level, people leaving. So we'll see what ends up happening. But it goes to show you, reason why Rocket Lab is valued at north of $10 billion. And, I think at one point these guys were rated at $5 billion. Astra was rated at $5 billion or plus. And so when you think about it, like how much money and capital do you need to get a successful small launch company up and going? Well, of course, relativity would hopefully be a medium launch vehicle eventually, but they did have their one Terran 1 launch, which was successful. But that being said, I mean, I think you need north of $10 billion to be able to start something like that. So, I mean, who's to say whether or not they're going to succeed? Yeah, I agree with kind of Francisco's thought here. I've seen more stuff coming out of Stokes as of recent than I have with the Relativity. So it doesn't look very hopeful, but it doesn't look very hopeful for a lot of other companies either. So we'll see. We will see.
It'd be interesting too. Like, I mean, they're scheduled to launch. I mean, assuming all goes well, they're scheduled to launch Terran R for the first time in Q1 of 2026. And I mean, I can't imagine a lot of investors are like rushing to throw money their way until it's a proven launch vehicle. And I mean, past that, the contracts that they have signed, they have a constellation deployment contract with, assuming these are all intact still, with Eutelsat, fleet deployment with, sorry, hold on. The constellation deployment is OneWeb. The fleet deployment is Intelsat, Mars lander delivery vehicle with Impulse Space, a constellation replenishment for Iridium Communications, and a fifth customer. And these are all scheduled to start deployment in 2026. So to kind of circle back to what we were saying with Neutron, just like not really needing customers yet, like all of these customers in theory, assuming, knock on wood, but if things don't go well for Relativity, they're all going to be like, hey, we need to launch like now. And it's going to become a very heated competition very quick. And I mean, on top of that, Firefly is private, but who's to say what kind of state they're in? And of those, 50 launches in their backlog, I guess even more now with Mach TV 2.0, it's like it's kind of like an Astra situation where you're looking at their backlog and it's like, and Virgin Orbit, like those launches have to go somewhere, and a lot came to Rocket Lab. And you start adding up all of these launchers that are in distress, they've got to go somewhere, and it's going to come fast.
Yeah. All right. I see in the comments a lot of people are mentioning Astra, and then they announced that they're moving forward with launching soon, and I think that they're testing their stage 1 tank or or stage 2 tank. I can't remember. I didn't want to mention them because I don't consider them a serious company, but yeah, since I see it in the comments, yes, that is also happening this week.
Do you guys think they launch this year?
I honestly wish them the best. I just don't know how they would be able to, because I wish them the best because, let's be frank, I think any competition is good competition. I just don't see how they'd be able to dig themselves out from the depths that they put themselves in. I will say, I don't want to shit on them too hard because they did have a very clean looking facility. It looked like they were actually trying very hard. I just think that there might have been too much emphasis on the wrong things to get things into space. And they almost put the cart before the horse of building this massive facility that was able to churn out rocket engines and things of the like before they actually had a sustainable product that was working. They tried. They got a couple launches off, but whether or not they got Astra 4 off, I guess, is we will see. Cautiously hopeful for them. Not optimistic, hopeful.
Scott Cross is like, with the question, when they're launching, like, is it going up or sideways? So that's also, we need to specify, like, do you guys think that they're launching up or sideways this year? So yeah, cool. That was all the space news. So now we get on to getting Scott's predictions for Rocket Lab. I don't know if you saw this one in last episode, but I'm just going to ask you the questions. So how many launches, including Neutron, do you think we will have in 2025?
I'm going to go with 22 to 24, I bet. Can it be like a range like that, or do you want a accurate number?
No, Matt also had the range, and Dave even said that they will guide for 25 and they will do 21. He was like uber specific. So,
I'll go with 22 even. Yeah.
Okay. You go with 22. Cool. Next question. Which month of the year does Neutron launch in?
Let's go with November.
All right. How far does the first Neutron launch go? Clear the tower, through MaxQ, orbit, etc., etc.
I think we touched space.
No, touch space like into orbit or almost orbit.
Like 100 kilometers or higher. Like I don't know if that, like, because I don't know if they're actually going. Like, are they gonna circle around the planet once and bring her back home?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. My guess would be that stage 2 should go to orbit because that's part of the test, and then like stage 1 just touches space and then comes back.
Yeah, let's say they let's just say they hit orbit. Like they could deliver a payload if they're going to do a payload, they will. And I'm guessing they'll have kind of a slightly off nominal landing. Like they'll need a second splashdown for Neutron test number 2.
Yeah, it's the same as Matt. He also said need a second one. Yeah.
Matt, do you think they deliver a payload?
That's the thing I don't understand. I'm trying to understand. I mean, to me, I feel like they have to put something into orbit. Like kind of like how the first Falcon 9 where they put the Tesla into orbit.
I think it was Falcon. The first
no,
one.
Heavy. Yeah,
was that heavy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like they have to put something. I just don't know what it would be.
Should put like a an Electron engine in there, something small.
I tell you, Peter Beck's jet ski. That's
that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Or some no, I don't know what would be funny for Peter Beck. I know this rocket bike that he built for yeah. Okay, cool. So next question is, do you think Escapade launches in 2025?
Probably not, but I'll say yes just to be the contrarian here.
All right.
It's probably 2026, but we'll go with it.
All right. Do we get approved and onboarded for the NSSL?
Yeah, I think so.
This is looking bullish after this week.
Say that again.
It's looking very bullish after this week.
Yeah, definitely. Will there be an acquisition in 2025?
Matt, I think you asked on the last one. This does include like Virgin Orbit or like what's that other thing called? The speedboats. What was that called?
Yeah. I know which one you're.
Yeah, bankruptcy like buyings and.
No, but that was not even bankruptcy. It was like they were moving
headquarters. Sale GT or GP.
Exactly. Yeah. They were moving headquarters from New Zealand to London, and then they just bought over the New Zealand facility.
Yeah, I think they do, and I won't make it as part of my prediction. Like I'll do it kind of.
We can put it in parentheses.
Yeah, like I if I was forced to throw a dart at the board, I bet it's Minaric. They're in like huge financial distress. They're like crucial to the SDA and I think MDA contracts. Or actually, no, maybe not MDA, but SDA for sure. And it wouldn't surprise me if they, when things go south, because it seems like they kind of have, that they just become a little tuck-in for Rocket Lab.
All right, that's pretty interesting. Okay, next one. How many interviews will we do with Sir Peter Beck and Adam Spice?
I'll go with 3. I think it was Matt was saying last week we might get bumped for 1 because they're busy in the second half of the year, but 3 seems reasonable. Well, 3 seems hopeful.
All right. What will be Rocket Lab's stock price at the end of 2025?
The market seems to value or to to value rocket companies with like a price to sales like SpaceX. So we'll just do that. SpaceX is like I think price to sales like 28 to 30, and that would put Rocket Lab at, I think, let's go 32.
$32.
$32, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we more or less trade sideways for the year with some large fluctuations, I bet.
Yeah, we're very much on the same page on that. So here we go. No electron reuse in 2025.
Come on, guys. Yes.
All right. Scott, yes. Okay, and that was the last one. So now we have you officially part of our predictions.
Sweet.
So we're going to check back in 2026 and see how we all fared on this.
Sounds good.
Cool. I think it was a fantastic episode. I don't know if you guys want to say anything in closing.
No, thanks for having me on.
No, I think only other than good luck to Blue Origin, and I know they don't for New Shepard. They don't really go too much into space. Some people say they don't go into orbit at all, or space at all. So it'll be cool to watch between now and hopefully next week a new competitor out there, and eventually that will be beneficial for Rocket Lab, just based off the fact that Escapade will eventually go using Blue Origin. But who knows? Maybe that gets canceled. Because if we have our own launch capable vehicle, then maybe we take that over somehow, and it ends up being on a Neutron. But obviously that won't be until 2026 or so before we have the opportunity to do that. But as always, reach out if you need anything. Find me on X, YouTube, etc. It's going to be fun year for Rocket Lab. It's the year we've been waiting for, at least for me.
Awesome. Amen. So thank you guys, everyone. See you next week, and do well. May the sky stay blue and your stocks green.
Well,